Hello, my name is Mike Estella. I'm an application engineer with Photron, and today I'm going to be talking about the dual slope shutter tool. The dual slope shutter tool is useful for imaging very bright events that result in saturation. When a particular pixel has a high charge and it's close to saturation, the pixel charge will be reset to a lower level and then begin accumulating a charge for the rest of the exposure. Pixels that are not close to saturation will not be reset, and using this tool effectively results in extremely bright areas of the image being reduced without affecting the rest of the image. Let's take a look at this graph for a better idea of how the tool works. So this purple line represents an individual pixel as it's gaining a charge. Photons are accumulating in the pixel well, and when it reaches 100%, that's when the pixel has reached saturation. So the dual slope shutter tool will detect when the pixel is reaching a high level of charge, and it will reset that charge down to a lower level and then accumulate more photons for the remainder of that exposure. Some things to consider. The best results come with monochrome images. With color images, you'll begin to see a pink hue when the dual slope shutter settings are set high. And there's no way to determine which pixels, if any, were reset. This is done on the hardware level. And if the dual slope percentage is set to a very high level and a large portion of the image was reset, the image can start to look a little flat. So what's required for the dual slope shutter? The dual slope shutter will work in PAV 3 and 4, and we always recommend the latest versions of these software. And the dual slope shutter is only usable on certain camera models, more on that in a second. And the dual slope shutter must be applied before images are taken. It cannot be applied in post-processing. If it is not applied beforehand, you'll not be able to use dual slope shutter for that particular shot. Let's take a look at some of the cameras that dual slope shutter is available on. Dual slope shutter is available on the Nova R and S series, on the Mini AX and WX, on the SAZ, the SAX2, and the SA1 through 6, not the SA7 or 8. So I have PFE4 up here, and I have a Mini AX200 connected. And to operate the dual slope shutter, we'll actually go over here on the right near our camera controls, and we'll drop down this shutter speed selector, and we'll actually scroll this bar up just a little bit, and you'll see dual slope shutter right here. And we'll go ahead and click on that, and you'll notice this area appears where you have a sliding bar where you can go ahead and operate your dual slope shutter at various percentages. Right now it's at 0%, so it's still off. So I'm going to go ahead and take this lighter and light up my flame here, and you can see I can't really see the true shape of the flame. There's a lot of saturation there. And now as I start to increase my dual slope shutter percentage, you'll start to get a better idea of the shape of the flame. And right there, right around 75%, that's a much better representation of the flame. So I'll go ahead and turn it off again so you can see. And now the way this works is the percentage that you set this tool at, it will have the dual slope shutter operate at the percentage of the shutter time. So right now we're at 330 microseconds. So if I were to set this to 50%, it would operate right around 165 microseconds of the shutter speed. So it's not actually reducing the overall shutter speed, it's the percentage of time that the dual slope shutter is active in the exposure. And generally speaking, as you increase this, you'll have a greater overall reduction in saturation. But again, if a lot of the pixels are reset, it's a very saturated image originally, and a lot of the pixels are reset, you'll start to notice the image to get a little bit flat. And now for a few other examples. You'll notice here all four of these images were taken with the exact same camera, Mini AX200, and the frame rate and shutter speed and resolution are all identical. The only difference here is the dual slope shutter activation. Over here on the far right, the dual slope shutter is turned off, and then it's progressively increased going from right to left. And you'll notice over here the image all the way to the left has a much less saturation and much more detail with a higher dual slope shutter percentage. And here we have a video with an Abrams tank round, and this has three 3 videos all with the same camera, the same settings. It's just a different dual slope shutter percentage. And if we pause the video for a second here, you can see this fireball in the middle has so much more saturation than these other 2 fireballs, and you can see more detail with the tank projectile and inside the fireball. So dual slope shutter can be very useful when paired with things like reducing your shutter speed and closing down the aperture on your lens. All of these tools can help you reduce overall saturation in an image and extract much more detail in your very bright shots. I hope you found this presentation helpful. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact Photron Tech Support. And thank you for your time and have a great day.